messed up. Rumble, strip, ramble. I practiced that at home too in the mirror. I said rumble, strip, ramble 4 times, and I was like, hey, I got it. And then when I went to start today's video, it just didn't happen. But you know, that's life. That's life. Well, guys, it's Monday afternoon. Started out the morning with an amazing mentoring session. Shout out to Nay. We had so much fun talking about her coffee shop that she is working to open. She already has a trailer, and now she's trying to go into a more permanent location. Love, love, love those mentoring sessions. They really fill my soul up. So if you guys are interested in them, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. We love helping others and hearing your guys' stories and answering your questions. It means the world to us that people look to us for advice, because sometimes I feel like we're just everyday people that have no idea what we're doing. But
I wish people would have helped us.
yeah, I do too. And I know it's hard to make that investment when you're like, well, I don't even know if I'm going to open a coffee shop, so why should I be investing in a mentoring session? But
well, we've saved people a lot of money, because they come to us and they say, this is what I'm going to do, and then we tell them, don't do that, and this is why, and they say, wow, I never thought about that. And then they come back to us later and say, wow, I'm really happy you told me that, because I went and talked to the city official or whatever, and they told me I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and we would have spent all that money and
would have been a disaster.
Would have been very bad. So we made some of those mistakes.
Oh, we made plenty of those mistakes. In fact, do you guys forget that we had a building that we had to replace within 2 years because we made so many mistakes?
Yeah.
So I guess today we are talking about what we wanted to talk about, and kind of going along with that same theme of saving you guys money, but also not just like saving money, but kind of saving you from headaches and disasters, and kind of bringing up the costs that we know sneak up on people. And we've kind of told you in past videos that Casey and I have 2 different specialties in our business. Casey is very much the person who takes care of all of our permit process. He works with the contractors when we're building. He works with our point of sale system with the guy who helps us with that and really gets like the fine tune in that. And then my specialty is more of kind of the HR side, hiring, training, actually making the drinks, coming up with the recipes, all of that side of the business. And so together as a whole, we make up the team, minus of course our employees and my mom, who does all of our bookkeeping, and then our managers who help us with so much. But that being said, we just kind of wanted to bring up, based off of each one of our specialties, little costs, or not little costs, very large costs that have snuck up on both of us, and lessons that we've learned throughout the business. And so hopefully by kind of talking through some of these things, it will save you guys in the end, because you will be prepared for these hidden costs. So Case, take the floor.
Well, what should we start with first?
Let's start with like permits and the process of if someone wants to open, whether it's a food truck or an actual building. Talk about the permit process and kind of the costs of that, so people know what to expect. Granted, every town, every city, every state is different, so just keep that in mind when we're talking about this.
It is very different. Our town, for a very long time, hasn't had any sort of permits or fees for food truck style, food trailer style businesses. They basically said if you aren't a permanent building on a permanent foundation, you are considered like a mobile food truck. So our first building that we built was a building that we could move. We had to build not on a permanent structure or anything. It'd be like a mobile home type of building. We built it, set it in a parking lot. We hooked it up to city water and sewer eventually. But the way that our city defined that was not a permanent structure. Therefore, we were exempt of a lot of the permits and processes like getting a conditional use permit and things like that. We weren't required to do that. So you have to definitely check with your city and state and county and figure out what you're required to do. Building permits vary depending on where you live. They definitely sneak up. We have in our town, which most towns have, they might call them something different, but they're called impact fees or hookup fees to hook up to the city water and city sewer system, if that's something that you're looking to do, which we highly recommend doing. That way you can have a bathroom, you can have all the water you need. You don't have to worry about hauling in water, hauling out water, things like that. Those impact fees for us were about $15,000
$15,000.
Yeah, 15,000. And then we had, there's just a lot of little building. That didn't include the building permit or anything like that. So you definitely want to go to your city first and say, this is what I want to do. Am I allowed to do it? Where we put our building, setbacks, things like that. There's so many things that go into that. But those were some very, very large hidden costs that we didn't think about when we first started our business. And that's why we really recommend going the food trailer or coffee trailer or temporary building approach if your city allows it.
Some cities do not, which is unfortunate.
Most of them allow like coffee trucks though, or a coffee trailer. Food trucks are very popular. They're becoming even more popular, especially on the West Coast.
Some people are starting to restrict whether or not you can drive up to a food truck. That's really dependent on where you live. In fact, the town that we're in, I think we're to blame, but they are no longer allowing any temporary structure to allow drive-ups. We were luckily grandfathered in with our first location. So, rules are constantly changing too, so you just have to kind of like be prepared for that. But for the most part, if you get in with a certain system, they'll grandfather you and you're allowed to stay there. So just keep that in mind.
Definitely check with them. We always, with people that don't, if you don't have a lot of money to invest and you're a little worried about the risk, the coffee truck or the coffee trailer is such an amazing route to go because you can put it in different locations, you can test different markets, you can test different sides of town, you can contact places that have really big parking lots, and they may let you park it there. There's maybe like a Home Depot or something like that may let you put it in there. It never hurts to ask. The worst thing they're going to tell you is no, but we've seen in our town at least that there aren't many fees for food trucks, and they're just implementing a new one right now, but it's not much. So it's a fraction of the cost compared to building your own, and then on top of that, all of the fees that go along with building something that's permanent.
So like for instance, when we first started out and we weren't hooked to city water or sewer and we had our tank system, we just paid our lease payment, our rent payment to our landlord. However, we weren't getting charged property tax because we were just considered a mobile truck. But then as soon as we hooked up to the water and sewer, we were then responsible for property tax. So that was like another fee that we have to pay every single year on top of what we were used to paying. So it's like they're talking about sneaky things that come up on us. That was definitely one of them. Luckily, it's not terrible. We're a very small building in someone's parking lot, but that is something that just kind of came with the decision to hook up to city water and sewer.
Yeah.
One of the things I brought up to my mentee today, and I figured we could talk about too, like hidden costs. We were under the impression that if there was a power pole next to us, we could literally just hook to the power pole and we would have power. We had no idea that we would end up trenching back to the transformer just to get power. So in my original business plan, I had budgeted $120 for power, because all I thought is we're going to pay a fee and they're going to hook it up. No, I think, how much was it? Like, I thought $1,500, but maybe I'm wrong. Was it more than that?
Well, we had to dig a trench, and the trench was like 200 feet long.
We had to like hire someone to come dig a trench.
Yeah, it was like 2 feet deep, a couple hundred feet long, and then we had to go and buy conduit, which is like a plastic PVC type pipe that you bury in the ground. And then the power company came, and then they charged us per foot to run the wire from our building overhead down through a piece of conduit on the pole, and then push it all the way to the transformer box. So it was, I want to say it was in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000.
That's what I remember it being too. But look at how quickly my budget went from $120 hookup fee to several $1,000s.
And we could have avoided that problem by going to the power company and saying, we want to put a little building right here, bring a map or say, can we meet you on site, and say, we want to put a little building right here, we want to put power to it, and this is how big of a panel we're going to need, because they're going to want to know that. How big of a, if you have a 100 amp panel, 200 amp panel, what are you wanting? You tell them, and then they'll say, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have to do this. They have a map, and mapping system for power, and they'll tell you exactly how to do it or what you're going to need to do to make it happen. So, we made some mistakes like that along the way because we just assumed, oh, that won't cost that much, and
what happens
nothing
when
we
you
did,
assume?
nothing we estimated came in under budget. I will say that. Nothing. I mean, when we thought,
my wise father always told us, and it's not always true, but it's actually more true than not.
It's closer to more accurate than.
He said it'll cost double the cost and double the time. And unfortunately, I feel like every project we've ever started, whether it's even like a home improvement project, is still double the cost and double the time. And it drives me crazy. I hate when he's right.
Nobody thinks it'll happen to them, but it does happen to you because, like, for example, let's say your budget for a refrigerator is $800, and you find one for $700, and you're like, oh, this is great, and you go pick it up, and you get home and you plug it in and make sure it's working, then it stops working, then you got to go put $250 into it, and now you're over budget on that. I mean, that's
could
the
have bought
problem.
a brand new one for
right. You're buying used equipment, which I'm not against buying used equipment.
That's how we survived in our first coffee shop.
We saved a ton of money buying used equipment, but with used equipment comes headaches because, new equipment, you pretty much have a pretty solid set of years that you can count on that piece of equipment, most likely not breaking on you, whereas used, not the case.
So a hidden cost that I have found, and it's not a hidden cost, it's very transparent, but it's something that I find a lot of people get in trouble for, and they don't plan for it, so then they end up not having the money for it, but it's sales tax. And
depending on your state.
Once again, everything that we teach you is what we have experienced because we don't know it all. I'm not familiar with every state's laws and rules, and I know there are some places that do not charge sales tax, but here in Idaho we have a 6% sales tax. And so what happens is the end user pays the sales tax. So for instance, if we go to Costco and we buy milk and we buy muffins and we buy cups, all for the coffee shop, and then we also grab paper towels, Windex, floor cleaner, all that stuff, okay? We'll actually have them split our receipt because we want to pay sales tax on the stuff that we are the end user, aka all the cleaning supplies. But
we're not selling those, so we need to pay sales tax.
We have to, because we're the end user, yep. However, we do not pay sales tax on all of the things that we are not the end user, meaning like the milk, the syrups, the cups, the lids, all the stuff that we are reselling. Yep. And so I have found so many people who don't realize that they've been paying sales tax for so long, and they didn't have to, because in the end they're paying the sales tax, and then they're charging customer sales tax, and then they're paying sales tax again.
And it's a lot of money when you're spending.
Yes.
You might be spending a couple $100,000 a year on inventory, and if you don't go set up your account with Costco or with other places, your vendors, you have to provide them with a tax exempt number.
Yep.
That
a Resellers Permit.
Number.
Yep.
That gives them, if you don't set that up, you're going to pay sales tax. They're going to charge you. And so let's say you have $200,000 of inventory that you bought in a year. That's $12,000 in sales tax that you paid. That could be in your pocket because you don't have to pay it. So
now you might be panicking right now as you're watching this video and you're running a business and you're like, I've been paying sales tax this whole time. Yes, you can contact your accountant right now and say, I made a big oops. I hope that they would catch it for you. And you can send them all of your receipts and add up all the sales tax you've paid, and they can find a way to write that off for you.
The problem is you're going to have to go through every receipt. And so things you bought, like, let's say you bought bleach, you have to pay tax on that. But then the next item down below is cups, you don't have to pay tax on that.
It
the next
will cost you hours and hours and hours of your life.
Because you have to manually figure out all of the things that you paid tax on that you weren't supposed to. Because you can't just take the total of all the receipts and look at what you paid in sales tax, because unless everything on that receipt was for resale, but when we buy paper towels, toilet paper, things like that, we're not reselling it, so we have to pay sales tax on that. You don't want to get audited and get caught on that. You'll be in trouble. So
that's something that I have noticed a lot, that people catch themselves. If you're purchase accountant, your accountant, and they'll just send it over. Okay, so sales tax in that form catches people all the time. Here's another way that sales tax catches people. So for us, when we set our prices on our menu, those prices are set. That's the money that's coming to us. And then our point of sale system automatically adds in sales tax. So if their item was $428, now their item's going to be $472. Why do I know that? Because I've said that same price a million freaking times. But it calculates the sales tax in there, and then that's what's charged to the customer. Okay? So you are taking the money from the customer, the 6% for us, whatever the percentage is for you, and you are calculating how much goes to the state, because that 6% was never yours. Here's where things get confusing. That money goes into your bank. So let's say at the end of the day you made $500, including all the sales tax you captured. You're like, cool, we had a $500 day. You take that $500 and you deposit it into your bank account, because at that point it's all your money. Okay? Your whole month goes by, and then Idaho's policy is that on the 15th of the next month, you owe all the sales tax from the prior month. So you captured all that sales tax. So we had $500 day, the sales tax is in that. Then on the 15th of the month, you have to report, okay, here's how much sales I had, and here's how much tax I collected. And you have to write them a check on the 15th of the month for that amount. So why is that confusing, or why do people get in hiccups? Well, for instance, December for us is a great month. We always have a fantastic month. We have a lot of people who want drinks because it's Christmas time, and we have a fun winter menu. We have eggnog, all these things. We have gift cards selling for Christmas time. We always have a great month in December, but January is actually our worst month because we have people doing New Year's resolutions. We have people who have, budgeted more because of spending a lot around Christmas time. So December being a great month, January being not so great month, what happens is at the end of December, you get tempted to buy stuff. You say, man, our bank account is like doing good. We're really healthy right now. Let's buy some new grinders that we needed. Let's invest back in this. Maybe let's take an owner's draw at this time because, the bank account, obviously all our bills are paid, everything's good, and the bank account's still healthy. Let's take that money. Well, then you forget that on the 15th of the next month, they're going to come knocking for that check. And because it was such a good month, this check is going to be even higher from that month before. So that is where I just warn you, whatever process you need to do to calculate that amount, just make sure that you know that that sales tax is not yours, even though it goes in your bank account.
Yeah, it's like it's always there, but then all of a sudden, at the end of the month, especially right when you're getting started, you're paying your bills for the first time. So we got our first power bill, we're paying that. We got our first water, sewer, garbage bill, we got to pay that. We have our payroll, we're paying that. You're getting used to paying all your bills, and if you have your products are delivered and they're taking your, maybe they're billing your card once a week or however you have it set up. But then all of a sudden you go, oh, we're not doing too bad. And then all of a sudden you go, oh gosh dang, I forgot we owe the state, a couple $1,000s in sales tax. And it's like, it doesn't go into a separate account. You would have to just budget for that. And it just sneaks up on people a lot.
It does, and it gets you in a bad situation because I don't know about you guys, but the one person I don't want to mess with is like the IRS and taxes. I don't like that. I don't like the stress of it. It stresses me out as it is. I'm sure you guys have seen that funny meme that's like, you're 18, you need to pay taxes. And you're like, okay, how much do I need to pay? They're like, you figure that out. And you're like, okay, but what if I get it wrong? They're like, you go to jail. Like, that part stresses me out, but that's why we hired an accountant to handle it for us. But going into business, going into a small business, I wasn't aware of how you pay that stuff. I wasn't aware of, I said, okay, I know we have to calculate sales tax, or I know we have to collect it from people, but I never processed the fact that the money just goes into our account.
It looks like it's your money.
Yeah, you look at your bank account and you think, I have X amount of dollars, but really,
you owe
it to them.
Yeah.
It was never yours to begin with. So I just like to warn people, and for some of you that may be common sense. Maybe you're like, listen, I already knew that, that's duh, come on. laundry.
It wasn't common sense for us.
It wasn't.
It's like we knew we had to do it, but then we were so focused on running the business and doing our very best, and then all of a sudden our accountant goes, hey, I need your total amount of sales you made, or our point of sale would tell how much sales tax we collected in that month, and then we tell her, and she goes, all right, I need a check for that, sent in the mail today. And you're like, oh.
We're like, what?
Okay.
Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
So it's just something just to keep your eye on, and hopefully that saves you from a headache or a trouble in the future.
Like, it was never your money anyway.
Yeah.
Because your price on your menu, typically for most people, they don't put the price including tax. So it was like just extra money anyway, but it doesn't feel that way when it's sitting in your bank account with all the other money.
It hurts more.
So, yep.
Another one that I guess is a little bit sneaky, but I feel like I just didn't know when we started a business, is that I thought that whatever wage I agreed to pay an employee, that I could just take that wage, multiply it by the amount of hours they worked, and that's what I'm going to have to pay.
That could not be further from the truth.
I did not know. I had no idea that businesses have to match on certain taxes and fees. For instance, FUTA, SUTA, what am I forgetting?
State income tax, we have federal income tax.
That's both of those.
Medicaid,
Medicare, what's the... No, I'm thinking of one. Unemployment, and there's another. Workman's comp.
Well, it
That's the one I was
depends.
thinking
Workman
of.
comp is an insurance, so that's
Yes.
different.
But I guess you could calculate that per...
It is per hour. Well, it's per dollar you pay someone.
Right.
So it's all, you have to factor that in. Like, and I don't know how every state is, but for Idaho, you pay workers' comp, which is the state insurance fund, basically meaning you're required to pay into it if you have employees, and if they get hurt on the job, then they can go to the hospital, and workman's comp will cover it. And everyone's workman's comp rate is different for the job. So like for a coffee shop, workman comp rate is much lower than the workman comp rate for maybe a construction worker because they are more likely to get injured doing construction, and coffee shop employees rarely get injured. So we still have to pay into it, and it's a calculation by so many cents per dollar, I believe, that it might be per every $100 that you pay in payroll. So for every, I don't know, for example, let's just say for every $100 you spend in payroll, you owe 50 cents to the state tax commission, or whatever, $5. I have no idea what that rate is, but it's thousands of dollars for us. We have 35 employees.
So I will tell you that, like, this is going to be rough, and please don't bust down to the comment section saying, Bree, it's actually this exact amount, because I truly don't know.
Well, it's different for every state.
But I would say that, like, if you're paying someone
just a good rule of thumb, we almost double it.
Well, yeah, it's not double.
It's not double, but it's not far from it.
My mentee today said that her mom always says, take what you're going to pay someone and add $3 to that per hour. And I'm like, yeah,
Well,
kind of like, for us that would be like...
I don't know if that works, though, because if you pay someone $50 an hour and you add $3 to that, it's not the same.
I would say more of like a minimum wage.
For us, I would say for us, we always just say double, and it's not quite double, but it's close. It gets close to that when you add up your workman's comp and all the taxes you pay on their paycheck. It's not double, but it's
like if you paid someone, if your minimum wage is $8, I would probably say plan for like 11. But give or take, and it's not going to be like a perfect amount per hour, but what we're trying to say is that you need to be prepared that it's not just $8 times how many hours they worked and that's the number you're paying. It's not. It's going to cost you a lot more. And unfortunately, it's not like when you write their check, they come at you just like the sales tax does on the 15th of the month. Or the 20th. I don't remember. My mom took over that job for me, and I clearly just let it go because I'm like, thank you. But they ask for that money based off of a rate. I think sometimes if you only have a couple employees, they'll make you do it quarterly. If you have more employees, they make you do it monthly. Some people maybe only have to do it like biannually or annually if you only have like one employee. So, I mean, this is where hiring an accountant will like I said a few minutes ago, like the one person I don't want sniffing down my back is the IRS. And I feel like it's not even that people are intentionally trying to mess this stuff up or intentionally trying to cheat the system. It's that when you're a brand new business and you haven't gone to business school, and even I went to business school, they didn't teach us any of this. That was not part of my lessons when I got a 4-year degree in business. I learned all of this stuff through just trial and error and finding out the hard way that I didn't pay that, and I didn't even know I had to pay that, and now I'm in trouble, and I'm like, crap, like, I'm so sorry. So that's where I would say, like, really talk to an accountant and find one that you trust. It's not as expensive as you think, but even if it is an expense, it is worth its weight in gold, because you will save yourself from getting yourself in accidental debt where you owe people money because you didn't realize that you were supposed to be paying these fees, and not setting up your employees correctly in the systems, not setting up your accounts with federal and state taxes, not setting up a workman's comp account. It can get very overwhelming very quickly. So that's where I can't speak for every state. I can't, but we can just try to give you guidance and say, find an accountant and they will help you figure out kind of the paperwork you need and then what those types of fees and stuff look like. And they're so good too. Like when we first started, you know, we had an incredible accountant that they're the assistant. She'd send me an email, hi Bree, like I need this from you. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Because I didn't know. And I was so focused on just the day-to-day of keeping my business alive that I didn't think about the fact that I needed to get this done or send this off or make this payment. And it was so nice. It was so nice. So
yeah, I think you know, maybe talk with an accountant. They're going to be able to help you too. If you say, if I, you know, whatever state you're in, if I'm paying this employee $10 an hour, how much are they actually going to cost me? Now, they're probably not going to know about workman's compensation and how much that costs, because that is, you can factor that like per hour that you pay someone. You can break it down enough. But I mean, for us, it's easily like if we pay someone $10 an hour, they cost us $15 an hour. And if you're not calculating that when you're trying to figure out how much an employee is going to cost you, it's going to be a rude awakening, because it's not just a little bit more. It's a lot. I mean, we spend a year tens and tens of thousands of dollars in employee taxes.
Yeah.
Of just paying their taxes.
And it's hard too, like, you know, one of the things that we've run into in the past, I guess, kind of talking about those types of taxes and fees and planning for that, is like, we have a pretty hefty training process because we really want to make sure that these employees are ready to go and they're going to represent our brand and prepare the coffees and the drinks to the standards that our customers are used to. What's really unfortunate for us is that hiring every new employee costs us a lot more money than you'd think, because we're not only paying them their wages, we're matching all their taxes. It makes our workman's comp go up. It makes these things get affected.
And we have to pay people to train them.
Yeah, and then if they don't work out, or let's say that they only work for us for 2 months, and then they're like, hey, found a new job, you know, it almost costs us more to hire that employee than it did what we ended up getting out of them for the work that they did. So that's like another sneaky thing that you have to just kind of watch out for, is like, and there's no way to really predict it. Even if someone has the best intentions, they're like, yeah, I'm planning on being here, or you think they're going to be the best employee ever, and then the material's just not clicking for them, or they realize that this just really isn't the job for them. Like, there's kind of sometimes no ways to prevent that, but just be prepared that it is a pretty hefty cost to go through the process of all of that. Like for us, when we're training someone, we put an extra person on the floor. The trainee is on top of all the other employees who are working, because they're not quite ready to handle the load without the extra employees. So now we're literally paying someone, an extra person per hour, just to be on the floor. So just sneaky little things that keep catching up that, you know, we try to warn people of, so that you can just not avoid, because some of these are very unavoidable, but more just be prepared. Yeah. Can you think of any more?
Well, you have to think too, when you hire employees, you are responsible if they've worked for you at all. We've had some that maybe worked for us for a couple of weeks and then something happened or whatever. We're still required at the end of the year to send them their W-2s.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter how long they work for you, you have to send them that. Well, your accountant might charge you per W-2 that they have to send out. So I don't know what your accountant will do, but let's say they charge, $30 per W-2 that they send out for you. You have to, that just these little hidden costs that comes at the end of the year. You're doing your taxes. Gosh, we got to get these W-2s out. There's a time frame. You have to have them sent out, postmarked, I believe, by
January
31st.
31st, yeah.
So there's just little things that just you don't think about in the beginning, or people think, oh, this person, if I pay them $10 an hour and they work 10 hours a week, I only have to pay them $100. And it's like, no, you probably have to pay them like you might pay them $100, but
Yeah.
but you're going to be paying a lot of other people.
Even paying them, technically the check you're going to write will be less than $100 because
They have to pay
depending
their
on
taxes.
the taxes that they paid.
Yeah.
But then you have to match those taxes, but it's not going to come out at payday. It's going to come out when it's due for your state. And that's where it gets confusing, because it's like, you once again, you have to leave money in your bank account prepared to pay those checks when the state asks for them. And so that's I guess probably bottom line of this entire conversation is that you should always keep extra carrying cash in your bank account if possible, because
We should anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Operating capital.
Yep. Operating capital is really important. And that's kind of one of the things that when you're budgeting for your initial business and you're going through the cost of everything, espresso machine is this, the building is this, the electrical is this. When you're going through all those costs, put a category that literally says operating capital and put a couple, if not more, $1,000 in that category. Because what that's going to do is on day one, you have money in your bank account ready to go for these unexpected things that are going to come up. And then as you're getting your sales in from that week, that month, whatever, you're letting that money sit in there without taking it out, because you know that some of these unexpected bills are going to pop up and you're going to be ready for them, and you're not going to have to stress or take money back out of your own personal account and put it back into the business account, all because you accidentally took too much out.
Yeah, what are you going to do too if it's kind of like an emergency fund for your everyday life? If you own your own home and your furnace goes out or your air conditioner goes out, of course it always seems to go out at the worst time.
Every time.
What are you going to do? How are you going to pay to get a new air conditioner? Well, the new air conditioner's $5,000. You need to, it's smart to always have an emergency fund sitting there just in case unexpected costs come up, because they will come up. It is not a matter of if they will, it's when they do. We have them 7-8 years in business. We have unexpected costs pop up all the time.
Yeah.
We were not planning on doing this. The espresso machine broke. I was not planning on spending $800 to get that fixed. And $800 might be more than what you're even going to profit in a whole month.
Yeah.
At the beginning. So
having that extra capital just ready to go is just so beneficial, and you'll stress so much less, even if you never touch it. Even if it's literally, just like Casey said, an emergency fund that's just there. It's so nice.
We leave lots of extra money in the bank just for those unexpected things that happen, or maybe we go, gosh, I didn't realize that our quarterly taxes, I forgot that they were due. They snuck up on us. Thank goodness we have enough money in the bank. We didn't just pull out all the money, and
I'll tell you, one of the funniest things is when I was an employee, I remember that it felt like a lifetime between 2 weeks, between paydays. And then when I became the employer, I remember our accountant sent a message. She's like, hey, I need your hours for the month, or for the 2 weeks. And I was like, already? And she's like, yeah, it's been 2 weeks. And I'm like, no. I just wrote those checks. I just gave them their paychecks. And she's like, it's been 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? So it comes fast when you're the one paying the bills. I will say that.
Paydays take forever when you're the one receiving the paycheck.
Yeah.
But when you're paying people money, it seems like it's every day.
Yes. All right, friends. Well, we made it to Boise. I know, once again, these awesome little chats. We take up the whole time to get here, but we hope that those little things, and of course we didn't cover all the little things that we encountered through the last 7 years that caught us off guard, but hopefully those ones help, and hopefully you avoid heartache and frustrations and tears in the future from learning from our mistakes. That's always our goals.
Yep. Yeah, we've made plenty of them. So if we can save you guys some money and some stress and everything else that goes along with it, then we will.
And that's our mission. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Thank you so much.
We're getting better at posting videos.
We are.
In case you guys haven't noticed.
Thanks to Rumble Strip Rambles. Got it.
Exactly.
Have an amazing day, guys. Thank you so much for following along and for always engaging in our videos. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we will be back soon.
Leave us some comments.